It's Friday, September 20th. I'm Adam Walsh, and this is The Signal. Climate Week, Day 5, folks. Today on the show, you're going to meet some folks who help educate, inspire, and mold young minds around global warming and climate action. Plus, we've got a couple of young people. We're going to talk to them about their thoughts on the climate crisis and the North. All right, Day 5 of Climate Week here on The Signal. Like I've been saying the whole week, folks, if you've got thoughts for me and the team here, thesignal@cbc.ca. You can call the Signal line and leave a message, 709-576-5260. This whole week, right, I've been saying it throughout the week that when it comes to climate change, it's easy to feel despair. You can feel overwhelmed by it. It can feel like it's a losing battle. But there's lots of climate action happening. People who have hope, people who are working within different systems. And from activism to field work to teaching, educating, we've had all these voices on, and more today, throughout the week. The common thread, folks with the will and want to try to fix and save the planet. Joining me now in studio. We're going to be talking to, like I said, it's educators. We have some young folks. I've got Courtney Clark here, Newfoundland and Labrador Program Manager with EOS Schools, and Laura Bass, Education and Outreach Coordinator, Climate Collective with the Johnson Geo Centre and Munn Botanical Garden. I love the connections to the Botanical Garden. They're great people up there, so it's nice to have you both here as well. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having us on today.
Thanks for coming in. How you doing?
Great.
Excellent. All right. We're going to have someone on the phone too. But first, I gave like a little blurb for you both, but could you just kind of expand briefly just on what your jobs entail?
Sure, yeah. So my main task is to bring the EOS Schools program to K-12 schools across the province. And so to do that, first of all, you have to learn what that means. So our certification program is about acknowledging the work that a lot of educators are already doing in their classroom. So it can be, they have an eco team, and I was really surprised and happy to learn there's a lot of teachers that are already doing such really great work in our schools. And so the EOS Schools program sort of brings together all of the things that they're already doing, sort of, maybe they're growing a garden and then they harvest the produce and they have a soup day for their whole school. And maybe they already run a really great recycling program, and they have a lot of different things they're already doing. So our program is going to highlight what they're doing already, offer them some other suggestions maybe they haven't thought of before, and bring that all together to give them like an opportunity to celebrate the hard work that they've done and potentially motivate them to go even further. Yeah, so
you guys, it was an EOS Schools charity started in Ontario, and the whole point is to help boost, augment, and just be there for teachers across the country, in this case Newfoundland and Labrador, who are bringing climate change, climate crisis understanding and teaching into their classrooms.
Yeah, it's to provide teachers with the framework to continue that work. Not always is an educator feeling confident to tackle all aspects of climate change and to motivate these students who, a lot of youth that walk in the classroom today have a lot of passion around this, and they sort of just need an educator who's willing to open the door for them, because as a youth you maybe aren't able to do all of that, and maybe there's a lot of things that could be integrated in the curriculum, but if you don't feel confident as an educator, you're not doing that. So as a teacher, you have the capacity to say, I'm going to let these students lead, and I'm going to offer them like this different opportunity that they can have to take what they are passionate about and bring it wherever they want to within the school community.
Very cool. Laura Bass, what about yourself?
Yeah, so Climate Collective is a fairly new program through the Johnson Geo Centre. We've been around for a couple of years now. We focus on creating youth climate action chapters. So the work that we do, we try to keep the focus as being youth-led. So we don't want to tell youth what is important to them. We want to know what they want to do. So part of the things that we do is go into schools and do climate action planning. So we kind of give them the framework of what a plan might look like in terms of like how to go through the steps. So what's something that might be missing in your school or community, something that you'd like to tackle. And then we go through the steps on how to make that happen. So through doing that, that can really empower them to either take a small step or do something larger scale, like at the community level. So that's one of the main things that we do through schools and camps, community centers, things like that. And then the other thing about having the Youth Climate Network is being able to connect youth and have a platform where they can actually connect with youth in other communities throughout the North. So we're trying to get into other areas of Canada as well. So that's the next goal.
Very cool. And speaking of the North, Jeff Green, president and founder of Students on Ice Foundation, is on the line. Hi, Jeff.
Good morning, Adam.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm having a nice time listening to the conversation so far.
Well, thanks for being part of it. Tell everyone about the foundation.
Yeah, so Students on Ice Foundation was started about 25 years ago. And the simple kind of premise was to use the polar regions, the Arctic and the Antarctic, as the greatest classrooms on Earth. And we thought, imagine if we could expose youth to these really windows to the world and how that would shape their future. And so we use a ship as a floating classroom, and we take youth from all over the world on these expeditions, including in your backyard. We spent a lot of time in Newfoundland and Labrador just last summer. When we started the program, it was interesting. In 1999, we were barely talking about climate change. And now, of course, a few decades later, it is front and center. It's a sort of a key topic and focus and concern of everything that we do. So a lot has changed very, very quickly as we are seeing on our planet.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough it was summer of 2002, so not long after you guys started. I was in the reserves, HMCS Summerside, and we sailed up to Baffin Island into a community called Kimmeroot. And I remember looking at the icebergs on the way up, looking at some wildlife. First time I'd seen polar bears in real life. And now, later on in my adult life, with what we're covering here and the stories out of the North under the disappearing sea life, the stories, marine life, wildlife, also the issues with the sea ice and everything else. That foundational experience has stayed with me, and the compare-contrast is still there today. How many students have gone through this with your organization? And just give us a description of where they can be in life now and what they're doing.
Well, that's awesome to hear your story, because that strikes to the core of what it's all about. When you look into the eyes of a polar bear, or not too close, of course.
No, we were at anchor in Ungava Bay, and I looked over. I'm like, oh, what's that guy doing over there? And they're just sitting looking at us. But it's still obviously just there in my mind.
Well, exactly, and it probably touched your heart, and that's always been the goal, is to touch people's hearts, because that's when change and commitment can really occur, and transformation. So that's kind of a lot about what we do. We've taken, Adam, over the last 24 and a half years, over 4,000 youth from 60 countries. This past summer, we had 5 expeditions, and we had about 120 participants on those. And the youth are aged 14 to 18, 18 to 30, and almost all of them are funded by scholarships, thanks to the support of amazing organizations, including many in Newfoundland and Labrador that were so generous in supporting. So, that's it. They travel on these journeys together with scientists and researchers and elders and musicians, and it's a really holistic, life-altering experience. But they do go on to, right this as we speak, we've got some of our alumni in New York City for Climate Week down there. We have a delegation going to Iceland next month for the Arctic Circle Conference. We have youth alumni that go to, the international meetings like the COPs 28, 29 coming up. So they take action on a local level at home in their own lives, but in many cases on national and international levels. And we found in surveys we've done that these youth really decide they want to pursue careers that are focused on the environment, focused on climate, focused on ocean, and those studies and careers, they become young and future leaders.
When you see like the before and after of an expedition with these young folks, what's it like to talk to someone after when they get to go and have the experiences and see what they get to see, and then to kind of realize perhaps have some realizations that they didn't have going into it?
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's where the magic is. I'm going to see 2 of our alumni this afternoon for lunch here in Ottawa. One's in town speaking at a conference about water issues around the world. So she's really become a global advocate for those issues. I mean, just seeing the spark, like every student's different, of course. In some cases, the light bulb goes off. They're inspired. They're motivated. They see all the possibilities. And if you could kind of sum it up, I'd say it's all about connection. They connect to nature, but they're also connecting to other people and in many ways to themselves. So it's a pretty powerful thing.
Yeah. What's the future of this? Like, just keep going, keep helping and bringing folks together, young people together, to mold minds, to have folks connected to the climate, to the north, and to global health.
That's it. It's all of the above. It's also mental health has become a big theme of our journeys. Well, we'll try to keep it going. I mean, in Newfoundland and Labrador, like the Mi'kmaq First Nation, the Marine Institute, the Nunatsi government, the Innu Nation, Parks Canada, like so many generous and Department of Fisheries and Oceans. Like it's groups like that in Canada and around the world that make it possible. So, we hope to 25 years to celebrate, but then look forward because there's so much more to do, and education. I think that foundation, like what EOS Schools does, what Climate Collective does, we need more and more of this because, yes, it's all about a sustainable future for generations to come.
Jeff Green, thank you so much for this. I appreciate your time.
Thanks. Thanks, everybody.
All right, cheers. Jeff Green, president and founder of Students on Ice Foundation. And we're going to hear from, we got a couple folks who are on expeditions this summer. We're going to hear from them shortly. I do want to go back to my guests here in the studio, Courtney Clark and Laura Bass. Any thoughts on what Jeff had to say there? It's still in the same wheelhouse of what you're doing, right? Like the educating, the connecting, the helping young folks connect to climate change, to the planet and everything else.
Yeah, I think it sounds like an incredible program. I've heard about it before, and it's very inspiring. I think that having that experiential piece for students is really important for them to be able to see firsthand, like how things are being impacted in the environment, to be able to foster that stewardship and that want to learn more and to advocate.
Yeah, I think that's a big piece of our EOS Schools program is around getting students outside and getting them to become passionate. There's a lot of students today that don't experience the same sort of outdoor activity that we had in the past. And so in order to get them to be passionate about saving the earth, we need to get them to care about it. And so if you can bring them out on those kind of expeditions, obviously you can't do that to a large portion, but in all of our classrooms, we can bring them outside.
Well, this is why I really like this conversation today, to have both of you here, but then to have Jeff on the line there. Like the range for access, right? It could be, it could be scholarships. It could be just your regular classroom. It can be at the Geo Center, but all of it, you're all folks who are helping to connect people to get their hands dirty a bit, to feel closer to nature, which is fantastic. Let's go to the phones. So I said we were going to talk to someone. We've got two people lined up to talk to who were on expeditions this summer. Billy Anderson's on the line, I believe, joining us from Corner Brook. Hi, Billy. How you doing?
Hi, I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. So tell us just a bit. Tell us where you grew up first, if you don't mind.
Sorry, what was that?
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Makkovik, Nunatsi, which is in Labrador.
So you grew up in Makovic, and then, and I mean, you're studying in Corner Brook now. This summer you're on an expedition. Tell us a bit about the expedition.
For the expedition, we sailed from Iqaluit, Nunavut, all the way down to Nunatsiavut, and then we ended in St. John's.
What was that like for you?
It was pretty amazing. I got to meet people who had the same interests as me, like, say, climate change and, the sciencey part of the oceans. And they didn't just come from Nunatsiavut. It was all over Canada, which was really interesting to hear about other people's perspectives of the environment around them.
Yeah, no, I'll bet. And those connections, they can really stay with you over the years, right? Like when you go on something like that and you meet folks. You were, what types of things did you kind of learn from either talking to other people or just on the expedition?
Well, with talking to other people on the expedition, I mean, like, the youth participants had a wide range of their own knowledge. There was someone from Ottawa. Her name was Dulcie, and she had a really good amount of knowledge on the plants. And she taught me and other youth participants about, all the plants that were around us. Even in Labrador, she knew plants and their medicinal purposes and why they're so important. Yeah.
What are you studying now, by the way?
I'm studying wildlife and fisheries.
Why?
Well, growing up, I lived on the land and I grew up on the land, and I have a lot of appreciation for the land and the waters around us. And I knew that I wanted to have a career where I could make a difference within my own community. So I decided to go for wildlife and fisheries.
So then how did, like, the expedition, how do you think that might help you with what you're studying and where you're going? Was there any kind of type of realizations around it? Do you think it could be helpful for yourself and what you're studying with wildlife and fisheries?
Well, yeah, I do think so, because I'm actually doing plant collections today in biology. And Paul was the botanist on board the ship. And so when we went and did that today, I had more knowledge about what we were doing instead of just being a beginner. And as well as eDNA, I have a higher understanding of eDNA, and I hope to do that, in the future when I have a job.
Fantastic. Any other thoughts before we let you go, just on whether it's something around climate change or the expedition or just what you're studying?
Well, yeah, with climate change, I think it was, when you get onto the expedition, you get to sail down the coastline of, Nunavut and then the Torngat Mountains and Nunatsiavut. And I think it's great to bring people together and have discussions about climate change and why this land is so important and why, we should protect it.
Billy,
Yeah.
Billy, thanks so much. I'll let you get back to your studying, but thanks for coming on the program. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Cheers. Billy Anderson there. All right, so talking to someone who's on an expedition and seeing right away how learnings around the climate, around nature, and everything else ties in with the future. What's it like for both of you for your work when you see how it can really kind of be ingrained into students and to help folks with the courses that they're charting for their lives?
I think there's a lot of people now who are seeing an opportunity for a career in the field of green careers that they've never seen before. So it's exciting that there's someone like Billy out there who has been integrated with what the nature around her is growing up, so that she's been able to be inspired. So hopefully there's more people that are youth today who are going to turn to that as well.
Yeah, when I was growing up, it didn't really feel like those types of avenues were out there. Yes, there was some stuff, but today, the more I hear about, the more I learn. I find it all fascinating that there are these different career paths and different types of programs for young people around all this. Laura, what about yourself?
Yeah, I think just touching on what Courtney just mentioned as well, like there's so many careers now that aren't necessarily directly correlated with like a nature organization, but you can, or with like a technical diploma or something like that. But you can still do that good work. So working in an environmental career, but maybe you're a communications person, maybe you're an accountant. You can still have the skills that you have and still work in a green career, which is really interesting.
What got you both into what you're doing? I'm curious.
Well, I began my career as a teacher, and I don't think I would have expected my career to take such detours, but I taught for a number of years in the Northwest Territories, and moving there really was a transformative experience. I think my priorities shifted, and then once I became a parent, they shifted again, and I think it's really important for you to focus your energy on something that matters. And I think if you're in a career where you don't really maybe care a lot about what you're doing, it's not very fulfilling. So it's nice for me to have something that is, like I was raised with a lot of sustainability aspect, maybe because I was raised by people who are from rural Newfoundland, so maybe that'll resonate with a lot of people. You know, don't waste, and only turn the heat on in the room you're in. Those sorts of mentality is what I was raised with. So moving that into today's view on sustainability was very easy for me because I was already raised with that sort of morality around gratitude for what you've been given and being careful around all of the sorts of things and the way that you live your life. I think it was really easy for me to take all that and turn that into something around environmental education.
So teacher, educator, you're helping facilitate environmental education, and mom. So when you look at your kids, what's that like as a teacher when you see what their understandings are and how they're approaching learning about the climate crisis and everything that's going on?
Yeah, it's a complex situation because I wear many hats.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people are thinking, okay, so you're the EOS Schools representative. Your students must be on all the green teams. But, the reality of the matter is that they're not. Now, I do hope that I'm also instilling those same values into my children that were instilled into me around, like I know my dad is 75, and he's still the one who provides me potatoes because he's out there growing them at 75. Like, I think, just having those kind of like connections with where we get our resources is not something that all students have and all children have. And so, my children do have that. And so they hear a lot of talk at home around, like valuing things and thinking about like, being closer connected to things than maybe some people are. So I'm hoping I'm doing that right. But some of the education piece is happening for my students or for my children. Like I'll hear them sometimes come home and say, oh, we talked about this today about, plastics in the ocean. And so, of course, I'm quick to say, oh, let's have a conversation about that. And I can take that further at home. But, that's not always happening in the classroom.
Yeah, well, because like when you're home, they're still your kids and you're the mom. And it's not like, oh, teachable moment. It's like, oh, my gosh, mom, like the thermostat's down. Like, can we just please get on with our day? But, I'm always curious when I have like, whether it's educators or some other professional folks in this type of a field, like what it's like with the family dynamic. Laura, what about yourself?
Yeah, so I think it probably stems back to how I was raised, and I was very fortunate to spend a lot of time outdoors with my family.
Yeah, West Coast, not of the island.
No, BC West Coast, and I right after high school. Actually, I probably started in high school. I ended up doing. It's hard to remember now. It was so long ago, but I think it was a week or 2 week hike, like a backpacking trip.
Yeah. And
it was like nothing I'd ever done. And I was instantly just like enamored with it. I was like, I want to be outdoors all the time. How can I get more of this? So I went on to do an environmental studies degree, and then that wasn't quite right. So I moved up north to Prince George, northern BC, and I did a degree in conservation, which I really enjoyed. And so for a little while there, I was doing some field work, like tech kind of stuff, doing some forestry mitigation things, projects, which was wonderful. And then after that ended, I got more into the education side of things. So doing education around wildlife, human impacts, and things like that. So once I moved out here, here I am, doing some climate stuff. So
the north. You both spent time in the north. So does it how does it seems to really impact people and stay with them especially around this subject of climate change and everything else. Like I'm just wondering how that is for you. Like so both being back or moving to St. John's or being back in Newfoundland, what it's like for just thinking about your time up there.
In the north, I think, well, in my experience anyways, I feel like the impacts in many places in the north are much more apparent. Yeah. So, for example, more forest fires in my case, in my home community, flooding in the springs, food scarcity, things like that. And that's certainly apparent in many other places as well, especially being in a coastal community here. We're seeing things like sea level rise and erosion and lots of different impacts like that, more severe storms. And it's really scary. I think it's very frightening for a lot of people. We're just starting to kind of talk about the mental health aspects of our climate crisis. And I think it's really important to keep those conversations going and talk about taking care of ourselves while also looking to find adaptations for the things that we're experiencing.
Courtney, what about yourself?
I keep hearing people talk about how the climate change is affecting the North more, and I know that that's true. I've seen the stats, but that's not my story. So my story about why the Northwest Territories is transformative is much more around the people that I connected with up there, and just like Billy was talking about living on the land, like a lot of stories from students that I taught and parents that I connected with through the community, just about like that deep passion for nature and for like, you know, a lot of the Indigenous people that I met just have this perspective around like not being us versus nature, but like we are nature. And when you think of it that way, it's not like a should I do this? This is the obvious choice of that we protect this land. This is our job, you know, to be caretakers. So I think like for me it was much more like the personal relationships of living in the Northwest Territories.
You're listening to The Signal, Climate Week, Day 5. Today we're talking about and talking with folks who help educate, mold, inform young minds, young people into taking climate action. I want to go back with, we've got Rex Howell on the line again in Nain, so manager of Nunavut Operations, trainer and operator with Smart Ice. Rex was on the show yesterday, and when the show was done, I was like, gosh, I still need to talk to Rex about something, so I phoned him, and he's good enough to give us 5 more minutes of his time. Hi, Rex, how you doing?
Yeah, well, great to be back. Good news.
Yeah, it's been forever. Listen, I wanted to talk to you about the newest cohort of youth mentees with Smart Ice. Can you tell folks about that?
Yes, so we are actually in the stages right now, and it's actually big. It's going to happen this coming Monday. So we are in the stages of hiring on local young people, and historically it's been young people. So we do this 5-week employment and readiness training development program. And it's geared to the people who are in need, who are not in education, employment, or training. So this program is aimed at people who may have never worked before. It's aimed at people who hasn't a high school education and the ability to apply for other jobs who require it. So this program it's meant to ease people into the workforce. So we take people again who has never finished high school, who may have never worked before, who have been out of the workforce for a long time, and we kind of help ease them into the workforce. So we teach them, we help them build their resumes. I'm a first aid trainer, so we'll give them first aid, we'll give them WMIS, and we'll also do things that look great on their resume, with the hopes at the end of the program is they can complete this program, they'll have fun with it, they will get their qualifications, and then hopefully it'll give them the confidence to apply for a job that they may not have the confidence that they thought to apply on it before. So the program has been successful, that we've had people finish the program. We've had people apply for jobs and work locally with the local governments. I've had people finish their courses, and they've had the confidence that they applied for the APE to get their upgrading, and they've successfully gotten their grade 12 here in Maine. But also we've had other people who have applied, who finished the course and who have applied, and they are working full-time in Voisey's Bay. And we also had people who have applied and attended colleges and universities. So we've had great success of training local Inuit youth with this stepping program, with the confidence that hopefully giving them the confidence that they can complete the course and I will be the reference, and then they can hopefully progress further into education, or at least apply for full-time jobs where they may not have the confidence to do so before.
And with this, there's also some seeds around climate change too, right?
Yes. So in the final week of the 4-week program, we actually, with Smart Ice, we actually build and assemble our Smart Boys here in Maine.
Oh, cool.
So towards the end of the 4-week program, I will teach them on how to assemble the Smart Boys. Then we will transition from a training facility. So after those 4 weeks during the training cohort, we will become a production facility. So the people who are in the program to use, I will welcome them back after the 4 weeks to come back, and then they actually have to assemble and build and test our Smart Boys. So they are assembling something in the North for the North. And when I train these people to build the Smart Boys, I'm telling them, you're essentially building something by your hands, you're testing it, and when it's completed, this Smart Boy, may go to Iqaluit, it may go to Tuktoyaktuk, it may go to Joe Haven, and I tell them, you're building something yourself by your own hands, with the possibility that it's going to help save somebody's life. And once I let them know that, then you can actually see that they take pride in something that they're building with their own hands, could essentially help somebody's life somewhere in the Arctic. And to help that, we have these stickers that they actually sign or initial, and then they'll slap it right onto the Smart Boys. So it's something that they see, that they know they're building. Aside from them building it, it has a proof that the stickers, when they get up in Joe Haven or Tuktoyaktuk or Iqaluit, their name will be there, essentially helping other people. And it instills a sense of pride that knowing something that they're doing could do that, and it makes it all worth it.
Rex Hallwell, I won't take any more of your time. I appreciate you coming back on the show 2 days in a row, but thanks for that. I love hearing about it because I think it paints such a great picture of some of the work and guidance that young folks are getting there in the North through what you're doing. So, Rex, thanks again.
Yes, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All right, be well. Rex Hallwell there, manager and Nunatsiavut operations, trainer and operator at Smart Ice. You're listening to The Signal. It's Climate Week, folks. The last day 5 of 5 for Climate Week. Today we're talking about education. If you've got thoughts as you're listening to the show, you can text us, 709-327-8206. You can email us, thesignal@cbc.ca, or you can call the Signal line and leave a message, 709-576-5260. Here with me in the studio, we've got Courtney Clark, Newfoundland and Labrador Program Manager with EOS Schools, and Laura Bass, Education Outreach Coordinator, Climate Collective, Johnson Geocenter, and Munn Botanical Garden. So, Courtney, Laura, any thoughts on what Rex was saying there? It sounds really neat, right? Like it's touched on what you were already saying about like getting your hands on stuff, getting involved, having the experience. In this case, knowing that it can, like with ice safety and stuff, like young people knowing that what they're doing can help save lives. I mean, that's gigantic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's really powerful too when he mentioned that they can put their name on it and know that that's going to be seen by someone, like having that pride and empowering them to be able to make a difference themselves. Yeah,
massive follow through there, right? Just think like signing it and then someone somewhere else who you don't know in another community will see it and also appreciate it because of the work that's been done by you.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on it?
Yeah, that's I think that's a really important piece to get people to stay in their own region and be passionate about saving their own region. So the idea that those workers are making something that they know is going somewhere nearby and is somewhere that matters to them, I think that's really important.
Yeah, it's really interesting that Monday on the show, so we're like, I would consider this a type of a quote unquote green job, right? Something involving climate change. On Monday on the show, so we had some young folks in talk. So it was advocacy and activism, and one of them, Leah Murray Movell, the Atlantic Regional Organizer for the Youth Climate Corps campaign. So this is a campaign for across the country advocating for jobs 35 under that are part of that transition. And even though, this is not part of that, it's all in that same conversation of people wanting to be able to stay in their communities and work on jobs that really matter for the local population. So what's coming up for you guys when it comes to your planning and what do you do? How does it tell me more about your jobs and the connections you're making with young folks around science and climate change?
Yeah, sure. With ECO Schools, our program, it's like a platform that a teacher would sign into and students can make an account on. And so that's sort of the biggest component of ECO Schools is what we have, our online presence. But locally, I'm also offering some workshops to schools in the St. John's metro region where I would come into a classroom and last year, in collaboration with Fishing for Success, we went into a couple of classrooms and brought some seal and cod and cooked with the students.
Oh, so that with Kimberly Oren.
Yeah, and
Excellent.
talked about food sustainability. And if you know Kimberly, she talks a lot about the power of food and how much of a difference we can make around climate change when we make different food choices. So that's one of the workshops that I offer.
What was that like?
It was really cool.
Okay.
It was really cool, yeah. And, I was also out to Kimberly's location in Petty Harbor, and out there you would be so impressed watching the youth go out and cut the tongues from a cod and just watch it being filleted and being totally hands-on and not squeamish. I was really very impressed with a lot of quite mature grade 8 students out there getting their hands dirty and being really passionate about how they can make different choices around food to help the planet. I also, in this fall, we are collaborating with Kimberly, and we're going to give away a field trip for a class to go out there for free, bus provided for a school. So we just want some teachers to create our plan on ECO Schools and add a new action called World Water Day, and they'll qualify for that free field trip, which is such a experiential, life-changing field trip for some students, I think.
Yeah, I'm just picturing the filleting, the cod tongue cutting, and how and Kimberly's been on this show a few times, right, talking about just her thoughts around this. And it just so fits, obviously, with the theme still of what we're talking about, the connection to the ocean, to the food we eat in a time when, for a lot of folks, food can come from boxes when it's not actually from a box, right? So, anyways, the image of that is really something for me. I can really see how beneficial it is. Johnson Geo Center, what's coming up?
We've got lots coming up. So right now, this year, this is a new kind of initiative we're doing. It's a monthly free film festival. Yeah. So we focus on films that have a positive climate action focus, and they're films short films from all around the world. This month's theme is food and sustainability. So if you want to come check that out, that is September 25th. It's a Wednesday. It's free. That's all on our socials. Also, at the end of October, we have a Youth Climate Action Forum coming up. So that's in collaboration with Learning for a Sustainable Future, which is another organization from Ontario. And we're hoping to get many schools involved. So that's coming up. And that's going to be different workshops and opportunities for teachers to do some professional development as well around climate change. And then we've got Make Midterm Matter coming up. We're doing a BioBlitz of the Geopark. So it's an opportunity for MUN students to come out and take part in a BioBlitz.
Okay.
So get outside, be able to identify plants and animal species and be able to log it and kind of look back at the data and be able to see what's going on up there.
I need to do that because I need to be better.
My
wife was from South Korea, and there are times when we'll be out, and every so often I'll be like, well, this is such and such a thing. And she's like, well, what's that? I'm like, oh, I have no idea. And she's like, how do you not know? I'm like, I don't know. There's certain things I know and certain things I don't. So yeah. I should do one of those.
You could brush up on it for sure.
Yes. Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then Courtney and I are collaborating on an event for the spring. Currently, it's untitled, but we're working on like an environmental fair for high school students.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to go back to the environmental fair shortly, but earlier in the show, we were talking to Jeff Green, president and founder of Students on Ice Foundation, right? And I mentioned we would speak to a couple of folks who were on these expeditions. So one of them, Billy Anderson, we spoke to, who grew up in Makovic, in Corner Brook studying now and studying wildlife and fisheries. And the other person who's now on the line, Cruz Silly Boy, is here with us now. How you doing, Cruz?
Good. How are you?
Good. So tell us, tell folks about yourself, and then we'll go into just your expedition and what that was like. So, but just start with a little introduction of yourself.
Sure. So my name is Cruz Sillaboy. I'm from a reservation called Eskasoni in Cape Breton, Nova Scotia. Right now, I'm studying Bachelor of Commerce with a major in marketing at Dalhousie University. After I graduate, I hope to study my Bachelor of Education and be a teacher on one of the reserves, particularly Sebago-Negedy, which is also known as Indian Brook. I want to teach grades primary to 6, somewhere around there I'd be happy with.
So you want to be a teacher. You're studying, you're in school now, and you're on an expedition this summer. What was the expedition like for you?
To be honest, I would say that the expedition is like sort of indescribable because it's just so beautiful and breathtaking, and I'm still taking it in today. You know, it's still impacting me. It was a great time. I made a lot of good memories. I made a lot of good friends who I hope to see again. We went to Greenland and Nunavut, and I could talk a little bit about each part of the.
Sure. Yeah. No. Fill us in.
Yeah. So I could share a couple stories, I guess.
Okay.
Like little short for time. But in Greenland, I think a very memorable time for me was going to Ilulissat, and because we got to go see a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which is an ice fjord. I think it's one of the fastest ice fjords in the world. And it was, like, the view was just breathtaking, you know, and we got our expedition leads. They told us to just take a moment of silence, take it all in. You know, it was very beautiful to see, but it was also a little sad to see at the same time because my partner, she did SOY in 2019 around the same time that I went, and when I compared the pictures to her, the ice is like significantly melted today than it was 5 years ago. And I was talking to Mike, he's one of the expedition leaders, and he's like, yeah, it's getting smaller and smaller every year. And I'm just like, it's crazy how fast climate change has been impacting like the high Arctic or the Arctic in general. So a little sad to see, but on a positive note, in Ilulissat, I got to try a muskox burger, which was it's like it was like moose meat and deer meat combined. I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's like
okay.
That was the best way I could put it.
I'm with you on this.
Yeah, that's what it tastes like to me.
Would you have it? So would you eat it again?
Oh hell yeah, I would get it. And I don't know if I was back there.
All right. So even from the 2019 with your partner, like, comparing pictures, massive change and difference. You get to try the muskox burger. What's something else that stood out for you from this trip?
So in Greenland, I have them like kind of like memorized from like times of the trip. We also got to go to Sisimiut. That was our first stop. And I was a little bit on Indian time just because we went through so many time zones. I slept in a little bit.
Okay.
So two of my roommates were waiting on me. So we were about 10 minutes later than the rest of the team. But it kind of worked out for us because when we got off the ship, we were walking for about like 5 minutes or so. And a taxi driver was behind us and he pulls in front of us. And we're like, what the hell is going on, you know? And he asked us, he rolls down his window and he goes, are you working for Cork? And we're like, no, we're students. We work for SOY. And we're like explaining to him what SOY is. And he says in like Greenlandic, it's your lucky day. And we're like, what? And he's like, I just told you guys, it's your lucky day. Get on in. And we look at each other and we're like, should we do this? We're really reluctant to get in. We're like, we got nothing to lose. So we got in. And yeah, we got to see like the most scenic parts of the town. We got to go to like where the elders in the community live. We got to like see the soccer field, which was very fun later in the day. Me and my friend Fred, we got to go play soccer with some of the youth there, which is really fun. We got our butts handed to us, but it was still fun. But yeah, on that taxi tour, we also got to go to his friend's house, like the taxi driver's friend, and he had a Greenlandic dog that wasn't a working dog because like, you're not allowed to pet the working dogs because they bite you, they have to get put down. So I got to pet that one because he was a pet, so it was very cool.
Question for you, Cruz. With these memories, as it still settles with you, and as you're gearing up, looking at becoming a teacher, what do you think this is going to give you for later for teaching young folks in the community where you end up working and for what you want to do and be in life?
To me, I don't know. It's like I think I understand to like be more patient because, like some people take things on faster than others, slower than others, I think understanding patience and like ways of learning vary from like youth to youth, Yeah. And this is something that like I've learned from being with people on the ship, whether they're older or younger, because there's a very older demographic on the ship with Cork, and they're still learning about things, and these are things that I already knew. So it's like people are going to learn at different rates than others, whether they come from different parts of the world or not. It's just human nature.
Yeah. Cruz, thanks so much for the chat and the stories. I appreciate them. You talking about what you learned, what you saw, and good luck with school now. And thanks for taking time to come on the show.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, bud. Cheers. Cruz the boy there. Yeah, muskox burger. Lots of great little tidbits to what Cruz was saying, and also a lot of great learning. You're listening to The Signal. Not too much longer left in the show here today for day 5 of Climate Week. But as I've been saying, folks, if you've got thoughts on this week, the coverage, climate change, anything else that comes to mind, or suggestions for future shows, give us an email, thesignal@cbc.ca. I'll check back in with my 2 guests in studio, Courtney Clark and Laura Bass. So Cruz had a lot to say there. What do you think, again, like it's another young person who's gone and done something, but it's like that hands-on experience bit and everything else with a couple, and plus a story of a muskox burger. What did you think?
I think Cruz is going to make a wonderful teacher.
Sounds like it, yeah.
I think, I think it's, there's so many really amazing teachers out there. And when I began teaching, I thought, this is the kind of teacher I need to be, and this is like the kind of the right way. But as you go through life and gather experiences, you realize that there's a lot of different kinds of people. That means you have a lot of different kinds of students, so you need a lot of different kinds of teachers. And not everyone's gonna kind of mesh with one another perfectly, but I think that nice diversity of personality is really important, and having Cruz have that passion for outdoors and bringing that, I'm sure, to his students will be amazing.
He talked about learning from older folks and how some of the older demographic, I think as he put it, was still learning. What is it both of you learn from working in and around young people? Is there something that you get from that? I mean, I know you get tons from it, but what's something that you've gotten from teaching or educating and working with young people?
I think it's so special to see either when there's like a moment that something clicks and seeing that happen is really special, and just watching that passion kind of build and just making those connections. But also just being able to experience how much kids already know, is so cool. And you can learn so much by just listening. So I view it as more of like a conversation, because you can learn just as much from them as they're learning from you. Yeah.
I really love, like I said, I'm a parent as well, so being around adolescents is always very humbling. I think as you watch a young person discover hypocrisy and learn some critical reasoning skills, I think you're always kept on your toes, and that's something I love about being around young people. It keeps you aware of the things that maybe sometimes we as adults can gloss over. So I think we have these youth who are seeing, you know what, these are these problems and we can solve them, but you're ignoring them. I think that just that passion and the clarity that young people have for these issues, it's really like inspiring to be around that.
I've got a message to play now in a second, so sit tight. I think we'll make time for one extra plug for if folks want to get in touch with you and everything else. But first, all week when I've been asking folks to call in and send emails, we've read some, we've played some messages yesterday, right? Rex Hallwell was on, manager of New Nazi Operations with Smart Ice. Same with writer and wildlife biologist Holly Hogan. So we're having this chat about wildlife in the north, different species heading further north. And we got this call from Tony Anderson. Take a listen.
Just heard Rex on there talking about the sea ice and all the good stuff over snow and that. It's pretty much noticeable now on the coast, I guess. Late freeze-ups and early break-ups in the spring and not much snow this spring. Bad for forest fires and stuff like that. And new species of stuff coming along last few years. We're seeing more sharks, even more this year, I guess. Poor beagles at people out jigging cod and coming up and grabbing, taking part of their fish. And you see pictures on Facebook up around the boat sharks at the fish, and more killer whales, seeing them more often, I guess. I didn't see any myself, but you reports on computer there. But I guess that's the thing now with whatever's going on in the world. But a few years ago, I think it's early 80s then, and when me and my friend was coming back from snowmobiling or a hunting trip, I seen this track on the snow, like something dragging on the new snow on probably, I don't know, good ways away from our town. But I went over to see what it was, and this was a balloon with a baggie tied on to lunch bag and a note inside. It came from Iowa in Forest City. It took 24 hours or less to come from the States to here, not too far south of Makovic. It was tangled around a little small juniper tree, and I took the name and wrote back, and we exchanged letters for a while. And he said it was let go from a school project they had in Iowa for city, but they said most of the balloons didn't cross the Mississippi River, but that one did, and he only took less than 24 or 24 hours to come right to Labrador and land on the ice there, and happened just to be there at the time because it was all a new blanket of fluffy snow, and you could see the track on the ice where it was dragging the baggie along. I brought it home, and as soon as I brought it in the house, all the air came out. It must have been full with helium. So that's my story, but no dinosaurs showing up yet, so just keep an eye out. That's all. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks so much for the call. Yeah, no dinosaurs yet, but if you see them, get in touch. The number for the signal line, 709-576-5260. Just got about a minute or two here left. I'll go back to my main guests here in studio today. We've got Courtney Clark and Laura Bass. If teachers or parents or anyone else wants to get in touch with you about everything you're doing, how do they do that?
Best way to get a hold of me is through email, climate.collective@mun.ca. If they're looking for STEAM education kits, we have lots to give away. We've got seed funding for climate action projects. We'd love to help out.
Excellent. All right. Courtney, what about yourself?
If you want to reach me, my email is cclark@ecoschools.ca. But if you're a teacher that's really interested in just getting started, head over to app.ecoschools.ca and register yourself on our platform. Your school might already be registered, but if it's not, you could do that as well for your school. And
And the big joint project you're both working on, we feel in March? When do we think this might be happening?
Yeah,
I won't give it away, but just ish. We'll go in the land of ish.
We're hoping for March. Yeah,
Okay.
we want to get it done definitely before the end of March. So we're talking mid-March, and I'm sure you'll hear some more details around exactly what that will look like. But certainly, we would love for junior and senior high school students who care about the environment to be involved in some kind of leadership capacity there.
I love it. Stay in touch with me on that, please.
Definitely.
Thank you both for today. All right, folks, that's it for Climate Week, and that's it for another week here on The Signal. Thanks so much for listening. Climate coverage will continue after today, but on Monday, something different. The sport of cricket in the province. We're meeting folks involved, what they're building. So give us the weekend to get our bats in order so we don't end up in a sticky situation. Apparently, if you're a cricket fan, those puns will make sense to you. So cricket show, full day on Monday. Thanks, folks.